The landscape of agriculture is changing as we know it. Technology is playing a vital role in making farming practices simpler than ever before. Crop growers are able to dramatically increase productivity levels on their lands by switching to advanced precision farming techniques.
If ancient farmers from 100 years ago moved into a modern farm today, how would they react? They'd most likely be amazed at how fancy farming has become and how much equipment and technology are involved. From tractors that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to drones and combine harvesters, modern equipment is omnipresent in most farming operations worldwide. Join us as we unveil how farmers use heavy machinery to harvest millions of acres annually. Commercial farms today are universally mechanized in one way or another. Modern mechanical equipment is essential to making farms profitable for various reasons, mainly because it lowers labor costs and saves time. This stands in contrast to subsistence farms whose purpose is primarily to feed the farmer and their households and communities. Subsistence farming is dominant in less developed countries, where there may need to be more capital to purchase tractors or other equipment in the first place. The high costs of farm equipment pose a barrier to entry towards mechanizing farms, and it's a cost that can typically only be offset by revenue from selling crops. From different studies, it is agreed that mechanized harvesting can be priced lower than the cost of manual harvesting. Modern harvesting technologies have been introduced in developing countries to facilitate mechanized harvesting. In a 2019 study, it was found that the machines reduce harvesting costs and are calculated to save 52% of the costs. It was mentioned in a 2010 study that the cost savings of operation by a tractor-mounted combine harvester compared to the manual method were 57.65 to 65.55%. Combine harvesting saved 40 to 50% of the cost compared to manual harvesting and threshing by power thresher. How did harvesting become mechanized, and does it have any benefits? Regarding agriculture, the reward for the year's work is finishing the harvest each season. Farmers did this using manual tools in the past, which could have been faster and more efficient. However, these tools were slowly but surely mechanized in the recent past to increase efficiency, productivity, and profit. For wheat farmers who could afford it back in the 30s, harvesting was made a lot easier and cheaper with the development of combines. When combines were introduced, they began to take over the harvest from threshing crews and separate machines. In the 20s, one machine would cut the wheat and then bind the stalks into shocks big enough to be carried by a man or boy. The shocks were gathered and then brought to another machine for threshing. The wheat was fed into the machine. The stalks were beaten and flailed to separate the wheat seeds from the stalks and chaff. The invention of the combine brought all of those functions into a single machine pulled by a tractor. In 1935, another breakthrough was made when manufacturers figured out a way to allow one man to operate the entire machine. 15 years after that, according to the Farm Equipment Institute, the development of the one-man combine was one of those occasional milestones that completely upset the old pattern and changed the very course of agriculture itself. In addition to cost-effectiveness, the combination was faster. For example, in a wheat field that averaged 15 bushels per acre, it took over 4.5 man-hours to bind, shock, and thresh the wheat. But that same field would take only 0.75 man-hours with a combine. It was estimated that a farmer using a combine could cut an acre of grain for around $1.50, even if you added in the cost of fuel and repairs. The same acre would cost $4.22 with a binder and thresher. Modern agricultural machinery has significantly impacted the agricultural sector all around the world. Modern agricultural machinery such as tractors, combine harvesters, and irrigation systems has improved the efficiency and productivity of farming operations. These heavy machines enable farmers to complete tasks quicker and more effectively. increasing yields and reducing labor requirements. This, in turn, contributes to food security and countries' economic growth. When machinery is involved, hard tasks such as plowing, seeding, harvesting, and irrigation, which used to take so much time, can now be completed rather quickly. And not just that, but with fewer workers too. This allows farmers to allocate their time and labor resources to other things, whether agricultural or non-agricultural, thereby potentially increasing their income and overall standard of living. As far as agriculture is concerned, the importance of heavy machinery cannot be overstated. Not now, not ever. Modern agricultural machinery has advanced technologies that promote precision and also aid accuracy in farming practices. A perfect example would be the GPS-based guidance systems that are installed on tractors. They enable precise planting and fertilization, consequently reducing input waste and improving the quality of crops. For farmers, the big day is the harvesting season, and after working so hard all year round, no one would want to see himself losing crops, so the harvesting is done with utmost care. Proper post-harvest management is very important to minimize losses and preserve the quality of agricultural produce. Modern machinery, such as grain dryers and good storage facilities, helps reduce post-harvest losses that spoilage, pests, and inadequate storage conditions can cause. This allows farmers to store and sell their produce at the best times, resulting in higher profits and reduced food waste. A farmer's income can be increased by improved efficiency, higher productivity, and cost savings associated with modern agricultural machinery. Also, farmers can generate higher yields and lower the cost of production by reducing labor requirements and optimizing their resource use, leading to improved profitability and, sometimes, financial stability. Farmers will also learn new skills and acquire knowledge if they adopt modern agricultural machinery like the combine for harvesting. Not to mention that they also gain expertise in the operation, maintenance, and repair of machinery, which will equip them with valuable technical skills and enhance their prospects of employment. To understand how impressive these machines are, let's take a glance at how harvesting evolved over time. Since the dawn of civilization, people have been farming crops, and until recently the processes used to harvest them looked remarkably similar through the ages, and modern farmers employed largely the same systems as those used in the earliest examples of agriculture. When people started living together in the early days, farming was the primary way to stay alive. At that time, all the harvesting work was done by hand. People used simple tools like sickles, scythes, and knives to cut crops from the ground. These basic tools did the job, but it took time and hard work. As societies advanced, people started using animals like oxen and horses to help with farming. They used them to pull plows, making it easier to get fields ready for planting and to get more crops. This was the first big change from doing everything by hand to having animals to harvest. The progress in farming during different times is shown in the later parts. Curved sickles were used for harvesting during Roman times and have mostly stayed the same. Grain was cut using these sickles, then taken to the threshing floor in baskets or separated from the straw before threshing. Different tools were used, including a quick-handed sickle held at a right angle to the handle and a quick-handled hook-like tool held in the left hand to gather enough grain to cut in one go. The first significant piece of harvester equipment was invented in the 1900s. The combine harvester got its name because it combines three essential and time-consuming operations: reaping, threshing, and winnowing. The development of mechanical tools dramatically improved the efficiency of modern grain farming operations. Moore and Hashall from Kalamazoo, Michigan, designed and released the first patented combine in 1834. It incorporated many modern features. It used a reciprocating sickle to cut stalks, a reel to push the grain onto a platform, a threshing cylinder, and screens and fans for cleaning the finished grain. However, it was pulled by teams of draft animals, and up to 30 mules were required to pull the machine. In the late 19th century, George Stockton Barry designed the first steam-powered combine, and inventors across the globe began coming up with more refined versions of harvesting and threshing machines. However, it wasn't until 1911 that the first self-propelled combine was designed. Until then, it took 4 to 5 men to work animal-driven combines. In 1915, International Harvester released the first tractor-pulled combine. Similar models were released by John Deere and J.I. Case in the 1920s and rapidly adopted by farmers nationwide as soon as possible. After World War I, their popularity skyrocketed and became commonplace across the United States and Canada, with 75,000 in use as the decade ended. Despite all these evolutions and developments, the main deal was the self-propelled combine, which was first designed and manufactured in Australia in 1923. The center-feeding T-shaped configuration was much closer to that of today's most popular machines. Market competition was fierce among manufacturers initially, but by 1925, Benjamin Holt had acquired and merged most companies into Caterpillar and dominated the markets. Deere and Company acquired the combined line in 1936. Combine harvester designs continued to be refined and evolved over the years, but their function remained largely the same. Hydraulic technology allowed manufacturers to develop hydrostatic drive systems using industrial hoses, pumps, and motors. Simple variable sheaves were also hydraulically controlled. It wasn't until the 1800s that onboard electronics were introduced into combines to measure machine efficiency. Sensors showed when excess grain slipped through the mechanism, allowing the operator to adjust the parameters. The real modernization came in the early 2000s, which brought the addition of GPS to harvesters, allowing farmers to observe how each section of the field was performing, so that they could maximize output by adjusting fertilizer, water, and pesticide levels. After the development of the earliest combined models, inventors focused exclusively on grain crops. In the 1960s, early hay balers and orchard sweepers were introduced. Early versions of mechanical tomato, potato, and grape harvesters were also developed during this time. Since then, an astounding number of different agricultural tools have been developed to automate elements of farming and increase efficiency. We're in the 21st century, and farms of all sizes are taking advantage of highly advanced harvesting and processing machines. The quality of the equipment makes it suitably cost-effective for smaller farms to keep older machines running by ordering parts from an industrial rubber manufacturer and performing repairs on site. Larger agricultural operations have been diversifying their crop harvesting equipment to include basic combine harvesters for grain crops and other crucial machines, like olive harvesters, nut harvesters, potato harvesters, lettuce harvesters, carrot harvesters, and cow milking machines. Farmers today are using heavy machinery to harvest millions of acres. But how? In the olden days, some tasks such as reaping, threshing, and separating the corn grain were all performed using heavy tools that were constrained owing to the great number of people, time, and effort they demanded. Fast forward to the present, where agricultural machinery has revolutionized the agricultural sector, and the major credit goes to the invention of combine harvesters that perform the triple task of reaping, threshing, and separating the corn grain through one single implement of invention and innovation. This gigantic automated machine is accountable for changing the whole agricultural game. It meticulously harvests a variety of grain crops, leaving no room for incompetence or incapacitation of any kind, form, or manner. The combine harvester's magical ability needs to be meticulously dissected to comprehend its role as efficient agricultural machinery, made up of about 21 parts including the header, reel, cutter bar, sieves, rotating blades, grain tank, unloading pipe, augers, conveyors, belts, layers, wheels, and much more. This agricultural wonder harvests, winnows, and threshes crops like rice, corn, wheat, sunflower, pulses, barley, flax, and soybeans. These crops are only partly edible, and the inedible parts, along with their stalks, need to be eliminated. In early times, the main tools of the farmers were their hands, along with other gears with which they cut, thresh, and clean the grains in different parts. Not only did this consume a lot of labor time and effort, but it also slowed down overall productivity. Saying goodbye to heavy tools like the scythe, sickle, and reaper, modern farmers adapted this sophisticated farm machinery, and the header platform emerged as the main feature. The header at the front of the machine gathers the cereal crops, which are then pushed towards the cutter bar through the pickup reel. Afterwards, the crops are cut down by the cutter bar and are then gathered by the revolving reel. Going through the conveyor to the threshing area, the cut crops are shaken and broken until the grains are separated from the stalks. The grains in the stalks have distinct futures. They are meant to go their separate ways, whereby the grains are collected in a collecting tank via the sieve, which waits to be unloaded onto a truck later. The stalks, along with the other unwanted stuff, are passed towards the back of the machine, which waits to be later thrown away onto a wide area, or the ground from which they were harvested. What was done in the past by investing the farmer's blood, sweat, and tears is now done by a single machine in a much more efficient and productive manner. The overall operational process is enhanced, skyrocketing the farmer's profits. A combine harvester has proven to be functional in different ways. A multi-purpose machine such as a combine harvester reduces the number of people employed in harvesting, thereby reducing manpower, time, and effort, and increasing overall productivity. Alongside the combine harvester, there are other technological wonders that farmers are using to harvest their crops mechanically daily. As of 2010, an estimated 10% of the processing orange acreage in Florida was harvested mechanically, mainly with citrus canopy shaker machines. However, mechanization has progressed slowly. This is due to the uncertainty of future economic benefits, due to competition from Brazil and the transitory damage to orange trees when harvested. Regarding cling peaches, there has been an ongoing transition to mechanical harvesting, where labor costs 70% of a grower's direct costs. In 2016, 12% of the cling peach tonnage from Yuba County and Sutter County in California was mechanically harvested. Fresh peaches destined for direct customer sales must still be hand-picked, though. As of 2007, 45% of raisins were harvested mechanized. However, the rate slowed due to the high demand and prices, making the conversion away from hand labor less urgent. A new strain of grape developed by the USDA that dries on the vine and is easily harvested mechanically is expected to reduce the demand for labor. Strawberries are a high-value crop, and the economics support mechanization. In 2005, picking and hauling costs were estimated at $594 per ton, or 51% of the total grower cost. However, the delicate nature of fruits makes them an unlikely candidate for mechanization in the near future. A strawberry harvester developed by Shibuya Seiki and unveiled in Japan in 2013 can pick a strawberry every 8 seconds. The robot identifies which strawberries are ready for pick by using 3 separate cameras, and then once identified as ready, a mechanized arm snips the fruit free and gently places it in a basket. The robot moves on rails between the rows of strawberries generally contained within elevated greenhouses. The machine costs 5 million yen. A new strawberry harvester, made by Agrobot, that will harvest strawberries on raised hydroponic beds using 60 robotic arms, is expected to be released in 2016. Mechanical harvesting of tomatoes started way back in 1965, and as of 2010, nearly all processed tomatoes are mechanically harvested. As of 2010, 95% of the U.S. processed tomato crop was produced in California. Although fresh market tomatoes have substantial hand harvesting costs, in 2007 the costs of hand picking and hauling were $86 per ton. which is 19% of total grower cost, packing and selling costs were more of a concern, making it likely that cost-saving efforts would be applied there. The combine harvesters aren't the only machines out there harvesting. There are others. Let's delve in. Olive harvesters are equipment that shakes olive trees to release the fruit for collection in a central location, instead of relying on farm workers to pick it up by hand. Other tree fruits can also be collected in this manner using specialized machines. Most versions collect the sensitive crops in nets and then use a conveyor belt to remove them from the orchard for processing. Some nut harvesters work like olive harvesters, but others are designed to collect the crop straight off the ground. These nut harvesters can be either man-powered or tractor-pulled, featuring adjustable tines that engage the nuts, pulling them up and launching them into a basket beneath the machine. Potato harvesters are machines that till the dirt around this root crop to bring it to the surface. From small-scale potato harvesters to large tractor-pulled machines, they are becoming increasingly commonplace on modern farms. Lettuce is one of the hardest leafy greens to harvest, and until recently the process had to be performed by hand. Robotic lettuce harvesters are designed to alleviate this problem. They feature aspirators fitted with side-shifting cutting bars that harvest the lettuce while leaving the crop residues on the ground. Carrots, like potatoes, are root crops, which makes them difficult to harvest. Toe-behind carrot harvesters can be used with standard tractors to perform the work of hundreds of laborers. Like a potato harvester, the machine tills the soil around the carrots and pulls them to the surface for easier gathering. In-field harvesting equipment isn't the only thing that is advanced in recent years. Automatic cow milking machines featuring sterilized industrial rubber products allow farmers to eliminate the need for hand milking without creating issues with milk quality. Robotic automated milking machines remove the need for human intervention, even in applying the automatic pumps to the animal's udders. There's no doubt that something as useful as heavy machinery would have its own challenges. So, what are the challenges facing the use of heavy machinery for harvesting? No one can doubt that modern agricultural machinery has brought numerous benefits to the agricultural sector worldwide, especially in countries that use it. However, can something this good be without challenges? It has hurdles. The most obvious hurdle is the cost and maintenance associated with heavy machinery. Buying heavy machinery is expensive, and maintaining it is entirely different for small-scale farmers. This can create an impregnable barrier between farmers and accessing these technologies, leading to disparities in agricultural practices and productivity between large and small farmers. It is no news that combine harvesters are the workhorses of modern agriculture. They play a pivotal role in streamlining the harvesting process, and these machines, equipped with cutting-edge technology, ensure efficiency and productivity in the field. However, with great technology comes great prices. Combine harvesters are indispensable, but the small-scale farmer can only dream of owning one. Quite obviously, modern agricultural machinery does not run on water or air. If it's a machine, it needs fuel. However, fuel is not the only thing. Heavy machinery also requires other things, such as spare parts and technical expertise for operation and maintenance. The issue is that if farmers acquire these machines, they may face challenges in areas with few resources. Consistent access to these inputs would be a serious problem, leading to disruptions in the use of machinery and, consequently, reduced productivity. Also, there's no doubt that modern agricultural machinery can have serious negative consequences for the environment. A good example is tractors, which are known to have ridiculously hard tires. When an incredibly heavy machine is used in the field, it can cause soil compaction, reduce soil fertility, and, more importantly, increase erosion. Furthermore, when modern agricultural machinery is adopted, it can well lead to the displacement of manual labor in the world of agriculture, which is kind of good and also kind of bad. Because while it is true that it can increase efficiency and productivity, it is also true that it can cause people to lose their jobs. leading to rural unemployment, particularly among farm laborers who do nothing else but rely on manual work for their livelihoods. This can have socioeconomic implications, including migrating from rural to urban areas for alternative employment and greener pastures. As the use of modern agricultural machinery becomes prevalent, there's a risk of creating a subconscious technological dependency among farmers. Needless to say, when farmers lack the necessary skills to operate and maintain the machinery, they turn to external service providers, but this will only increase their production costs while reducing self-sufficiency. Is there a future for mechanized harvesting? Since the beginning of time, man has needed food and cannot survive without it. The global demand for food continues to rise and is projected to increase to 102% by 2050 to satisfy the requirements of 9 billion people. This means that agricultural production also needs to increase by 60 to 70% to ensure the supply of raw materials for food, feed, and fiber. To ensure a sustainable future, despite today's sustained and intensified pressure on global resources, every player in the food system needs to commit themselves to developing and enforcing practices that will reduce the use of natural resources where possible and reuse, recycle, and repurpose them otherwise. Governmental organizations can also aid these efforts by implementing policies and strategies for efficient resource management on both national and local levels. Adopting sustainable farming practices worldwide contributes to the agroecosystem's efforts to meet the world's current food needs, while also ensuring that future generations will be able to meet theirs with the limited resources that they will likely have. These practices also focus on holistic development that incorporates environmental, social, and economic sustainability, which are the three fundamental pillars of sustainable development. Today, technological advancements are integral to attaining sustainability goals in agriculture. Satellite and GPS technologies, sensors, smart irrigation, drones, and automation, to name a few, provide the means for precision agriculture, which further aids in effective resource utilization. They reduce the use of harmful agrochemicals and help conserve non-renewable resources. They also help agriculturists prepare days in advance for unseasonal or extreme weather events, thereby reducing crop losses during such events. Other machines and equipment are also being designed to supplement the current machinery. New robots are being developed exclusively to serve as harvester machines to increase food production. What do you think about how the Far West is using heavy machinery to harvest millions of acres every day? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're here, click on the video on the screen for more content like this one.